Indie game fans are eating really good these days, like full-blown China buffet-style chowing down, with Team Cherry finally releasing Silk Song, the sequel to the critically acclaimed Hollow Knight, Edmund McMillan delivering on a decades-long promised dream with Mugenics, all these games about dice and gambling, like, whoa, look at all of them. You save some creativity for the rest of us, buddy, like Jesus Christ. And my singularly most beloved Slay the Spire's follow-up and logically titled Slay the Spire 2, right around the corner. Actually, it's out now. It is hard not to feel just the teensy tiniest bit stoked about current games players' prospects. Amongst this overflowing excitement for some truly special releases, I feel like the games playing public at large has overlooked maybe the most interesting indie release of the past few months. Creature Kitchen, a game about making delicious meals for critters and cryptids and ghosties. This explicit note and video hook now seamlessly deliver us to the porch of this video's thesis and overall topic. Today on Mr. Nonsense's train ride to nowhere, we take a look at the creative output of The Rat Zone, the developers of Creature Kitchen as well as their two previous outings, Chairs and Cinder. The Rat Zone's short itch.io bio is simple. We create all sorts of bite-sized experiences you'll hopefully consider games, or perhaps game-like things. If you're enjoying our content, we must be doing something right. Who are the Rat Zone? The Rat Zone is a collection of 6 dubious individuals parading around in the attire of rats, but I am not 100% certain they themselves don't tell only truths and occupy actual perfect ratus forms. These 6 potential rats, citation needed, ascribe to 8 axioms. I would like to take a moment to cover these axioms, paying specific mind to certain blurbs to really shine a 1950s detective-style hard-boiled noir flashlight directly into your video viewing perp eyes. These axioms will serve as perfect proof that no amount of Williams and Connolly white-collar deposition cross-witness examination litigation will ever rattle the rock-solid Rat Zone core, which is clearly and undeniably based on the fundamental notion of being based. Number 1. The end of video games. Here at the Rat Zone, our job is to infiltrate video games and demolish these disgraceful fucks from the inside. It's going to be really cool. Basically, what we're going to do is make what are called imposter games that look and smell like video games, but don't. We will then release our games into the local ecosystem, where they will kill all the other games to various bacteria and pathogens. Number 2, stop wasting my fucking time with games that are too damn long. Number 3, no sequels. Number 4, a little bad can be actually good. Too often, it seems that games try to be good. There's nothing wrong with this, except it's completely wrong and bad advice for game development. Fuck that. You think we have time for that? How about instead of trying to be good at things all the time, we simply acknowledge we suck ass at some things and that's okay. 5. Rodents first. 6. Do not delete the main menu. 7. Just say no to AI slop. Despite us being smalled creatures with minimal access to the wonders of technology and computer, we exhibit such things as artistic integrity and having a fucking spine. Number 8, rat. And bonus, if you would like to have your organs removed and be gifted the ascension of ratdom, we replace your liver with rat liver, please email us. Do with that information what you will. Now that we know the exact year, make, and model of our story's presumed heroes, we can discuss the nature of personal intentionality. My purpose for today's video is multifaceted. First, I hope to get you, the viewer, to spend $17.97, not including any local, state, country taxes. I'm telling on myself. I don't know. Taxes, man. $17.97 United States dollars plus taxes on 3 games. I also hope to opportunistically use the Rat Zone's cool and interesting games to bolster my own selfish desire for attention from strangers. This positive reinforcement loop makes the gaming world go round. I use them for attention and in turn help them move some copies. This is about as win-win as anything could possibly be, just like those odd birds who are dentists for crocodiles And let me tell you what, folks, I'm sure stoked to be the messenger of the Rat Zone's good word and good works. With that covered, we can now remove ourselves from the nose in the corner honesty timeout I just self-inflicted upon us and cleanly transition to our assigned seating. I'm talking about sitting down. I'm thinking about sitting down in a... come on, say, you know you want to say it with me. You sit down in a...
Okay, buckle up.
Frenetic, bombastic, fluid, irreverent, frustrating, humorous, and inspired are all words that I am deliberately using to describe the Rat Zone's high-octane blood pressure soaring platformer Chairs. In Chairs, players take control of the titular chair and perform chair-related activities such as double jumping, dashing, navigating overgrown forest, skiing through snowy trails, and rocket launching over volcanic landscapes. You know, normal-ass chair activities. I purchased Chairs roughly 1 year ago on a whim after I spent my big boy hard-earned adult full-time job dollars on a real beefcake of a desktop computer. My first desktop computer I've ever owned, FYI. Upon purchase of my beefy rainbow lights adorned boy, who you should know is named Thunder Stallion, I made a point to purchase the weirdest, most off-the-wall oddball acts of creative ingenuity that Valve's Steam Games Marketplace platform had on offer. The only true way to ascertain the proper scope of creation's offerings is to set aside a precious many moments and scroll through the Steam Deals page for literal hours, poring over each and every game present. All the wickedly cool stuff is located deep in the recesses of the Deals page. You'll know when you've hit the radical nonsense bunker once your right side navigation bar begins to look less like your alleged endowment and more like a reflection of your sordid reality. I'm sorry for saying something so crass about your manhood. Just so you know, I'm a hater and a liar, so bear that in mind, big man, as we move forward. Regardless, once the scroll bar starts to resemble a Tic Tac which has been sucked on by a small possum, you'll begin to find the real strange hotness that makes my joy-depleted heart begin to Doki Doki Grinch Who Stole Christmas style. There amongst the literal pornographic games and the Russian simulators of questionable moral making and the niche DLC packages and the re-releases of games nobody was aware actually released in the first place, we, the true believers and seekers of eternity's wisdom, will find the exact sort of games which make this repetitive process worthwhile. There we will find the type of game which is so damn confident as to simply refer to itself as Chairs. A name so bare bones and frankly downright stupid that a guy like me has no choice but to impulse purchase it and consider the ramifications of my soul's certain damnation as an afterthought in the grand scheme of all of, well, my mortal being and scheming. Waka Waka Hello Chairs, a 3D action platformer with a focus on kinetic and frantic speed. A game whose controls are simple on their face but require time and effort to truly master. In my Orbo's Odyssey review in my 2025 Steam Winter Sale video, I mentioned that Orbo's Odyssey is the best 3D Sonic the Hedgehog game made to date. I mention this because Chairs is the second best 3D Sonic game. A game which engenders such a sense of speed and pace as players deftly navigate 3D landscapes while performing regimented, exacting, precise 3D platforming controls. The primary goal of Chairs is to collect a predetermined number of mythic runic pyramid polygons. Once all these runic mythic MacGuffins are collected, the player then must navigate to the level's exit while avoiding these pink bouncy devil hound children. There are 6 zones including a tutorial and final challenge, which each provide a different flavor of visual aesthetics to the proceedings to keep players engaged and gameplay feeling lively. However, I think Chairs could confidently have players navigate the same biome repeatedly with new layouts without losing much in terms of overall appeal. I say this because Chairs is a downright joy to control, and the overarching gameplay mechanics make for a sharply designed fun experience. Beyond MacGuffin collecting and level clearing, there is also a ranking system and time attack aspect to allow entranced players the opportunity to improve upon their individual level performances. When I initially played Chairs about a year ago, I tore into time trialing and improving upon my base game skill set. As you have seen from gameplay on screen, Chairs, despite its speed, is simple. There are only a handful of actions players can execute to optimally release their brain's latent 21st century technology hypothalamus-fried dysregulated dopamine supply. Players control their titular and profoundly perfect chair with the control stick. In the bottom left corner of the screen is a battery icon with 2 charges. Each game action uses 1 charge of the battery and requires landing on the ground to recharge. Charge actions are as follows: jumping, double jumping, and dashing. By stringing together these jumps and dashes while remembering to land to charge your battery, players can maximally assault these time attack courses and improve upon their previous best times. But that's just gameplay, which I will mention again for optimal clarity is mega hot, super fun goodness. I would be a complete fool to not talk about the presentation. Chairs has a unique and eye-catching graphical style that pairs with an excellent, blustering, driving soundtrack and an irreverent tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. You don't need to look too deeply to see this game drips with an ironic, or maybe even post-ironic sense of humor, from the pixelated skeletons to the surrealistic signage and these ridiculous loading screen blurbs. Chairs is a game which has a maximalist approach to humor and presentation which appeals to my corroded sensibilities. In fact, amongst the words I mention at the top of this segment, which I will repeat so you don't have to go check: frenetic, bombastic, fluid, irreverent, frustrating, humorous, and inspired, I feel like I left out the most important, a word I used just a tad earlier: maximalist. Chairs ultimately is a maximalist game in every respect, from its audio, visual, and story presentation to its in-your-face, fast-paced game action. Chairs maximizes on these elements and presents paradoxically an incredibly tight, responsive, and focused game outing. I don't know how this off-the-wall, throw that shit to see if it sticks approach has created one of the most fun and focused platformers I've played, but the team at the Rat Zone did it, and did it with such astounding gumption that all I can do is give them props and anxiously await their next release. And boy howdy did I wait, and boyer howdier was it worth it. It became a running gag in my life for the past few months that whenever my friends or coworkers began discussing their excitement for any upcoming major AAA video game releases, I had to sincerely interject that if insert recently released or upcoming game here was wetting their whistle, then they should just strap in and wait for my most anticipated game of recent memory, the Rat Zone's Creature Kitchen. This isn't a bit. This isn't a little joke. I have been gnawing at the bars of my enclosure, pacing the restless, Wind Waker-filled halls of my mind, grinding my nails on a whetstone made of ox bone, other metaphors for anxious whiling, you get it, I'm sure. I have been so excited for Creature Kitchen that when I received an email from Steam services telling me that a demo was released, I jubilantly performed the smallest, basically indecipherable, unintelligible, borderline unnoticeable, yet powerful fist pump a person has ever performed in human history. I know it was the most in human history because a small goo man knocked on my apartment door and provided me with a plaque made from sweet tarts with words carefully chiseled with a bone machete that confirmed I, in fact, was the mostest. Creature Kitchen is a puzzling cooking game with a cozy yet uncomfortable atmosphere which during my initial playthrough was incredibly difficult to pin down. I'm a man of fragile sensibility who scares easily. I cannot watch horror movies or play games Markiplier enjoys or read books that the most annoying person in the coffee shop is proudly absorbing while sipping on the sugariest, bespoke, special ordered, artery clogging coffee their approaching credit limit can purchase. What I'm saying is that initially I played Creature Kitchen on edge because there is absolutely an inherent foreboding presence etched inside of Creature Kitchen's digital design DNA. For the equally delicate sensibilities folks out there, I want to make abundantly clear that Creature Kitchen is in no way a horror game. Actually, with the exception of a single borderline jump scare, Creature Kitchen is one of the coziest and sweetest and kindest games I have ever played. In Creature Kitchen, players are tasked with looking after a cabin in the woods and cooking delicious meals for critters of all makings, from the sweet baby raccoon who lives underneath the porch to the old dog who lives in the yard, amongst other cute and kind terrestrial critters. On top of these, for lack of a better word, normal animals, players also interact with a host of cryptids and ghosties and ethereal otherworldly beings who inhabit this somewhat lands between cabin and who desire snacks and treats and meals of all sorts. I believe that some of these critters are so unique and captivating that it would be video content game review malpractice to spoil these unique little guys for potential players. Regardless, the mechanics which dominate the game apply to the cryptids and the doggies alike, so gameplay remains grounded and consistent no matter whose meals you are making. Speaking of which, making meals, cooking plays just as major a role as the creatures as you may imagine in a game called Creature Kitchen. Inside the kitchen lives a void oven which can create a litany of unique dishes. Players must abide by recipe cards found scattered throughout the game to create dishes. Players utilize a mixer and cutting board to create dish elements and then place those ingredients into the oven's void to create wondrous and delicious meals to satisfy their creature guests and roommates. This sort of ethereal oven, which manifests perfect meals from minimal preparation, is wholly gamified but feels uniquely grounded in this meticulously crafted game world where everything is a little bit touched by spirits and the other not quite corporeal but yet still very real world. This lands between kitchen not only contains an oven which is heart connected to some sort of perfectly shaped Ratatouille the rat movie, not the food otherworld, but also contains a Mario 64 infinite staircase pantry which contains inside it all the player's unlocked ingredients, and an infinitely restocking binding of Isaac D6 re-rolling refrigerator which contains all cold storage goods. Located just inside the cabin, players will find two mission-critical items. First, a camera, which is used to capture the images of the different creatures which revolve around your creature kitchen. Once a photo is captured, it appears in this sweet little scrapbook. The scrapbook displays the photo the player took alongside each unique creature's preferred culinary desires. To unlock new dishes and ingredients to cook said new dishes to satisfy your creature friends, players must complete a series of escape room-esque puzzles scattered throughout the interior of the cabin and outside in the lightly tamed forest. These puzzles work excellently in tandem with the creature befriending cooking mechanics. As players solve puzzles and unlock ingredients and recipes, they then can cook wondrous dishes for our creature friends, who in turn provide keys that allow access to either additional ingredients and recipes or unlock entirely new areas and new creatures to feed. This gameplay loop is so rock solid and perfectly executes on Creature Kitchen's core premise of making interesting meals while also interacting with more interesting characters. I excitedly awaited each opportunity to unlock new areas to see exactly what manner of fun new friend would await. To tie this gameplay loop and tone together, Creature Kitchen expertly manages to utilize a PS1-like retro gaming aesthetic alongside confident and consistent visual audio design. Creature Kitchen is a game where I can simply frame a shot with my character's POV or point of view and think that I am in a meticulously curated digital painting. The world, despite its rather limited scope, feels perfectly realized thanks to a loving attention to detail in its minute visual elements and perfectly executed sound design. Cooking dishes, whether it's chopping vegetables, mixing sauces, and finishing meals in the oven, all have excellent accompanying sound elements. Everything feels like it's been perfectly placed by a master craftsman, and that polish amplifies everything Creature Kitchen has on offer by further cementing a moody, creepy, comfy atmosphere. The first time that I exited the game, the little crafterly icons and paper doll exit screen aesthetic exclaimed with rousing confidence that Creature Kitchen was, tip to toe to top, loved to death by its small development team. This so small, barely relevant detail must have taken somebody more time than they likely had, and I want them to know that I saw it, loved it, and appreciated them going the extra mile for what is ultimately a small detail. To conclude succinctly everything I just maximally gushed terrific about, Creature Kitchen is a puzzling cooking game with a unique tone that straddles the line between creepy and undeniably cozy. The game's core concept of cooking meals for fun friends and ultimately just being a kind person lands with a resounding confidence, and by game's conclusion I was completely sold in every respect. Creature Kitchen is only a few dollars and worth every penny. There are plenty of fun moments scattered throughout Creature Kitchen's brief runtime, and it all culminates with one of the most positive, uplifting, and kind conclusions to any game I have experienced. I think you would be doing yourself a profound disservice to not play Creature Kitchen. I made a commitment to myself after I completed Chairs for the first time to check out what other games the Rat Zone had available on Steam. At that time, there was only a whisper about the looming release of my now beloved Creature Kitchen alongside another small game, Cinder. Cinder is an atmospheric, short, suspenseful horror game about operating a giant tank-like vehicle through harsh blizzard conditions while also being stalked by a malicious extraterrestrial being. All game action originates from the inside of this intentionally craftily designed tank-like vehicle. This Five Nights at Freddy's-like approach has never really appealed to me, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm simply the most softest and most delicate and fragile person when it comes to suspense and horror, so this combination of factors left me quite skeptical when approaching Cinder from a mostly blind perspective. After all, I loved Chairs, a fast-paced, surrealist, humor-in-your-face, maximally designed 3D platformer. Cinder feels like an honest-to-God complete departure. To keep this brief, overall, Cinder excels in creating a unique and suspenseful mood. This is done with in-game radio messages, the intentionally designed straightforward but suspensefully clunky controls, and the oppressive tundra-like atmosphere. However, despite this atmospheric achievement, the moment-to-moment repetitive gameplay never fully excels in delivering on its promise. Even upon reaching the game's conclusion, I felt like little to nothing was really achieved, either from a literal narrative or ludonarrative perspective. The game feels like an amalgamation of ideas that sells better as an elevator pitch than a for-sale product. Again, I don't prefer this style of game, so there is a chance that this one simply isn't for me, which is totally okay by my standards because not everybody has to like everything. That's just life, man. This is life, man, woman, others unbound by, societal standards. It's just life. Despite this one not appealing to me, you should still buy Cinder if you vibe with small-scale atmospheric little ditties, and don't let my slight dislike distract you from the fact that I still stand by my opinion that Chairs is mega rad and Creature Kitchen is a must-play experience. Well, kids, wasn't that fun? 3 hop and hip games which may have just barely yet critically missed your perfect main character's attention gaze. I hope that you are now feeling like forking over the full $17.97 to purchase these 3 unique games. If you're a true sicko and have watched some of my previous video outings, you probably are aware that I am terrible at conclusions. Thank you for watching that video. I'm going to take a brief moment to give you some recommendations for other videos you might enjoy. First and foremost, I'm going to recommend a video very similar in spiritual composition. This video you just finished was about a developer and 3 of their games. Well, what if I told you I had a video about 1 developer and 20 games? That's right. Feel free to check out my Terry Kavanaugh video. There is a sequel to that video called Egg. So 2-parter. Check out both of those if you're interested. Next up on the docket, if you want more indie games, I've released 2 videos covering the Steam sales that have happened recently, both autumn and winter. They're both pretty good. Give those a look. And then if you're a true sicko and you want something maybe a little bit more AAA, maybe a little bit more mainstream, check out my most recently released video, the Ranking Every Side Quest in Wind Waker video. This video is a segment of a much larger video I'm working on. That video is the most video of all time, a comprehensive, exhaustive, supremely detail-oriented review of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I will continue to release Wind Waker videos for the foreseeable future as I piece together this enormous behemoth multi-hour video. That video is my worst performing video ever, so it would mean quite a bit to me if you would watch that. It is super duper early in the morning. This edit is almost done. I'm gonna finish it so I can upload it and you can watch it. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed yet again, and I will see you here in a few weeks with something else. Adios, goodbye, okie dokie, woohoo, yippee.
Bye bye.